Micah Parsons, how different is the role? He said about the same, but then he talked about being in the kind of shape to be a do-everything type of player.
Yeah.
And then, he talked about how, there's still things to be revealed from Mike Zimmer. But you guys are noticing already he's, not on the edge, full time. He's moving around a lot more. How different do you guys think Micah's role is going to be based on what you've observed so far?
Well, he said he's back to his college weight of 240. So he was playing 250 last year. And Brian, it does look like he's a little slim. He's moving around really, really well. And he said that he is getting more work at linebacker early in camp. The opponent is going to dictate how much linebacker he plays this season. So I think it is an interesting way, and I'm really hopeful we can get Zim on so we can pick his brain about this. But I think you can find a way to dictate matchups based on where you're lining Micah up. We talked about that double A gap pressure that we actually didn't get to see a ton today in practice.
Not today. I know Dawson asked about it today. We saw more safety type.
It's my favorite play in football.
But where you line up Micah, teams are going to have to now slide protection over most likely to block him. So maybe you're able to get favorable matchups for DeMarcus Lawrence or Sam Williams or Osa Digizua. So it is fun. I don't think Dan Quinn did a ton of moving Micah around. Maybe Mike Zimmer is going to have more fun and creative ways to use that to his advantage.
Well, if you're an opponent of the Cowboys, and what Micah just said, it dictates to how the opponents are. Mm-hmm. You're trying to find ways to make him become a linebacker, not a rusher.
How do I get him off ball?
That's what I would do. Because the thing that Micah Parsons can kill you at is putting his hand in the ground and rushing the passer.
Yeah.
I would try and set up a game plan where you make him have to play as an off-ball linebacker.
Yeah.
And make the Cowboys have to adjust. Wait a minute. We just keep putting Micah. And Micah was good in coverage yesterday. There was one time, though, they got caught in a situation. You might have saw it. Defense had to call a timeout because they got caught with Damone Clark on the field. Mm-hmm. And Mike and Clark were confused to okay, who's playing the role of the linebacker? I think it's what it came down to. Defense called timeout, and then they got it situated the right way. But if I'm an offense, Dawson, I'm doing everything in my power to make Micah Parsons have to play as an off-ball linebacker.
Yes, and
he can't kill me doing that.
No, and he's not nearly as good as an off-ball linebacker, but I wonder if your guy Mike Zimmer is going to make him so dangerous with the unpredictability.
Yeah.
Is he coming through that gap every time? Is he going to go back to the outside and line up? Mm-hmm. Now you're making the offense have to think about things every time they break that huddle. Mm-hmm. We got to find Micah Parsons. Do we have the right protection? Do we need to slide somebody over? Right. Do we need to make sure our best blocking running back is in the game more consistently because we don't know where that pressure is going to come from. Yeah. And, we got to have a guy between him and the QB. So I wouldn't put it past Mike Zimmer to play him significantly less at edge, but increase his production.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit the field and ask Mike that question. I don't know if he'll tell me or not. Maybe I'd just text him and ask him. But I think he's to your point, Dawson. I think he's going to figure out ways to get him. Remember what he had with Anthony Barr?
Yeah.
And
he did the same thing, right? Sometimes he's blitzing, sometimes he's dropping. You don't know where he's coming from. Yeah. So now instead of you're going up against Trent Williams every single snap or the team's best tackle, I'm moving you around to get you more of a favorable matchup, but I'm also being able to help out the rest of your teammates.
That's what killed me about Dan Quinn. Sometimes it was rushing against Trent Williams. Mike against Trent Williams. I'm like, dude,
right?
No,
it's a waste.
No, flip him. Get him away. Find somebody, and that's why that double A gap blitz works because unless you're, the Cowboys have got some good inside players, but most teams don't have a quality center or a quality guard.
Yeah,
and you can attack that area and get him right on the ball or the quarterback with the ball quicker.
And a lot of times you don't even have to actually do it to make him adjust. Just show it pre-snap. Right. And there's all sorts of fun that I'm sure Mike Zimmer's going to have. Is it possible to be a great leader and miss OTAs? I don't think missing it helps. And it's not a good idea. I would say being absent is not a good idea if you want to be a leader. But it sounded like some great leadership coming from the Micah Parsons press conference about 30 minutes ago, talking about he's making sure at all the meetings he's going around checking, make sure everybody's got their notebook and their water. The way that he talked about, Mozzie Smith suggests. He's taking a mentorship role there. He said it's not what Mozzie can do; it's what you need to do
right
as a first-round pick. And I know when the stuff that Sean Sharif talked about in the offseason as far as like your work habits, that's another thing that would go against you. But dang it, when he's up there at the podium, I see a dang good football leader and some of the urgency and football character that this organization needs desperately.
I think you can be a really good talker, but actions speak a little bit louder than words, right? So we're not in those meeting rooms. Maybe he is doing all of those things, but Mike has always said the right thing. I've always been really impressed with what he says, but we've just heard the opposite from people inside those walls.
The thing that you have to worry about, guys, in my opinion, is, Micah could be the leader guy, but, like, where were you leader guy when we were working in Dallas, when we were all, in the weight room and on the field and stuff like that? And he addressed that. He said, hey, on Monday, Tuesday nights, I do what I want to do. Yeah. So that's going to be Micah's, that's a good way. Sometimes you could be a leader. I mean, you asked about, can you be an absentee leader? Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of that would be hard for me if I'm like, bro, why are you in my face all of a sudden now? Where were you in April?
That's fair. Yeah, especially for veteran players. If you're Mozzie Smith and you're a young dude and you're trying to you're trying to just make a career out of yourself, and this is a former first round pick, you might just let that stuff go. But I'm sure some of the veteran guys, if Mike is going to tell me something like, "Hey, don't forget my notepad," you might look at him like, "Dude, come on."
I mean, to Zach's point and your guys' point, it might just be a thing. I know he's a reader. He might have just read a lot about what it takes to be a leader. And when he feels like it, he's doing some of those things or thinking about those things and is aspiring towards that. But, the discipline and the habits, still like leave the picture a little bit incomplete, possibly a work in progress. I love the answer about his podcast. It's my free time. And whatever you do on your free time is your business. I'm not coming around saying, hey, are you binging another Netflix series here on a Monday night? You should be watching film, right? Just because what I'm doing can be observed by the public doesn't necessarily mean it's a negative. But I think when you address things on your show that other players have to then address with the public, or you're revealing things that they wouldn't want to be revealed, that's when it's no longer your time. That's when your time is not minding its own business and creating either distractions or chemistry issues, though. But he did make a strong point about, hey, this is what I enjoy doing on my free time. I would just say, don't let that be a distraction in the locker room.
Yeah.
Make sure you're talking about things that, your teammates aren't going to be asked about ad nauseum by the media.
Do you think him and Hooker honestly are good?
No.
I don't think they are at all.
Malik Hooker said and made it seem like they were yesterday. I from what Micah said today, I have a different feeling.
Well, there's a professional respect, right?
Yeah.
And that is there.
The respect part is there, though, but I don't think he's.
No, they don't.
I don't think he's too happy with Malik Hooker, and Malik Hooker might regret being honest, but Malik Hooker might have been saying exactly what a lot of players are thinking right now.
But that, I think that's part of being mentally tough and being a professional. Like, I had a disagreement with my teammate. Maybe we aren't best friends. I don't appreciate what he said. He didn't appreciate what I did, but we're going to just go out here and try to kick butt and take names.
Squash it and move on. I think some of it's just a little bit of a sense of awareness. Like, I think we're going to see more and more of these players have podcasts. Max Crosby's got one with the Raiders. I don't think this is going to be anything that changes, and I am too. It's just when you get your butt kicked in the postseason by Jordan Love and the Packers, 2 weeks later you have Jordan Love on the show.
Right.
It's just little things like that I think might rub people the wrong way, and that's part of growing, learning from it, and maturing.
Indeed, and if he can take that next step in his career, finish the season like he started it, he said his production doesn't drop off. Its teams are doing a good job late in the year of adjusting their game plan to try to take him away, but he does look tired at times.
He does.
In the fourth quarter, he looks exhausted.
He does.
Didn't he say that, guys? Like, am I remembering this wrong?
I think it was Tank.
No, but didn't Micah say that he is working to try and be better late in the season with his workout routine?
He did. If you go to Pro Football Focus and you pay the yearly thing like I did, you could see his production from the first quarter to the fourth quarter and how drastically different it is when you look at the number of tackles and the number of sacks or pressures. It gets, as he gets later in games, it's not as prevalent as you have in the first 2 quarters of the game.
That's interesting.
You have the games, yeah.
Yeah, that's massive. You got to get your sacks in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
You know, that's what wins the games for you.
Right. I mean, my gosh, this is it's funny because there was a write-up, I think it was Nate Tice who did it in Yahoo last year, about Chris Jones, the big monster beast interior D lineman for the Chiefs, and how he's a guy who actually gets better as games goes on. He's like, I don't know if there's a first quarter sort of lackadaisical situation, but by the time you get to the fourth quarter, you are getting peak Chris Jones every single game, and my dear God, could we get that? And it shows in not only the individual game, but then once you get to the postseason, now it's late in the season, and Chris Jones is constantly showing up and making plays for his defense. That's what you want from Micah, and that's what we're asking from everybody, because across the board, it is a Cowboy problem. As the season goes on, you struggle.